Hello everybody, welcome back to Skyrim Modded Survival episode number 2. I have done very minimalistic work while off screen, just to kind of cut out the, what do you call it? That dull moment in Skyrim, because there are so few of them. We're just going to go ahead and just have this action-filled and action-packed. As you can see, I am now level 3. And boy, do I want that orcish sword. I'm still continuing the path of being a very good healer and swordsman. I've always preferred the one-handed, and the healing is going to become very effective right now because I am very weak. But I am now just outside of Whiterun. I have not been to the Jarl. I'm doing that on camera. I just came up to it. This is where we were at the end, Helgen. That's that custom destination. That's where we came out of the Grim. I chose the Warrior Stone for my Guardian Stones. And then there's Riverwood, nice little village. We'll go back there. I added a mod there recently. We will discuss that in length. And the first mod that I went to because I had issues recording, I do apologize guys, is right next to Honeybrew. This is from the Tesseract mod, Honeybrew Meadery. And then I just came across here to Bass Pelagian Farm, killed the companions guy. I'm really sorry guys, I thought that I had this recording, but it wasn't. And then I came up to Whiterun, and then I just pretty much picked up. So, due to the fact that it wasn't recording, when I stole the loot off of the Tesseract guy, I figure I'll just show you what's in his inventory. But I hope that's something that's alright with y'all. So here's his journal. His name was Peleus. It's just a typical journal. I'm planning on reading it to you after we get through this. And then the Prophecy of the Box, which was from the other one. The other mod, the TARDIS. All Doctor Who fans jump for joy. Jump for joy. In addition, he also had on a pair of blue mage robes, the college boots, which I just looted off of him, and this mysterious ring. We'll look into that later. I also have picked up some stuff. I may go into alchemy, not sure yet. But let us begin with this. I am utterly astounded by this discovery. Never before have I found the like of this place in any of my inconsiderable experience of Dwemer excavation. As the Dwemer would have it, during an expedition into Blackreach, I literally stepped upon the ring. I can't be entirely certain, but with its markings, it is almost conceived that this is a Dwemer gate ring. It will require more examination, of course. It is a Dwemer gate key, and it works flawlessly, of course. If it didn't, I probably would not have been writing this down in my journal. But that aside, it is beyond fantastic. Places such as this have only been heard of in the various whispers of rumors. Even the very structure is unique, abandoning the typical bluish-green powder so typical of the Dwemer decorations and light sources. Either the crafter of this place wanted to set himself apart from the source of the power itself is unique. At the moment, I am still exploring the structure. More research is to come. one page flip. Whoever built this structure intended it to be a safe haven of sorts. In fact, it seems that if one could stand the confinement, one could have lived in here inevitably to the end of his days. I'm admitting gratefully that it seems no previous tenants decided to do so. That would be disconcerting. All the necessities are provided for. Personal care, food, water, even one's animals are given space and food. Speaking, there is a strange energy-like being that has taken residence in the place. So far it doesn't appear to be hostile, but I'm keeping my distance all the same. In the cooking area, there is a mechanism which appears to not only manipulate time to preserve food inside, but by some magical means replaces it. I suspect that the water found here is generated in a similar manner, and perhaps waste is disposed by the reverse process. Though that is entirely speculation, there is no way to test it yet. I am speechless. I have had the opportunity to access the porch, if it can be called such, outside the master living area. There is no words for it. I have come to think of it as the blackness, the vast expanse with the almost tangibility of emptiness just to look at it, as though one were standing infinitely in the face, above the mass of energy, or perhaps energies, the swirl and the beautiful, marvelous vortex. Whether the vortex is natural or some product of the mechanism that sustains this place, I do not know. What I do know is that the structure is not buried ruins, such as I originally believed. No, this is not in Tamriel at all. This is literally its own world, the inner space, a tesseract. After such revelation, it would seem that anything further could not possibly compare, but in my searching, I have found records suggesting that there are more of these structures, and even more structures like it. How many are not specified, but known. This one is come to the name of Di Cluac Krogan. I have seen this place mentioned previous Dwemer records during unrelated research. I will have to examine it all further, as the research themselves is centuries old at least. I have been living here for several months. The Jarls and the exhibitionist princes and silly requirements of hanging why pay a fortune for a mediocre home when I can live like a king in my own world? Granted, I've never wanted to make changes to the place. Die-hard drummer archaeologists and scholars would probably find the modifications unforgivable, but they were necessary for livability. I refuse to apologize. No matter how advanced the drummer may have been, sleeping upon stone beds is not healthy, comfortable, or civilized. Fortunately, the furnishings of the structure were not so permanent as the tesseract, as I have come to call it myself. The stone it is built of, either by material or enchantment, seems utterly impenetrable. I don't doubt I could blast it with a cannon and not even chip the surface. Finally, more clues have been found. I have actually managed to use the ring to gain access to Clulacan Krogan. It seems as deadly a place as the Tesseract is life-sustaining. In fact, it is rather like an obscene curse, the very purpose of which is to kill any unwanted adventurer. It does also seem to be completely operational, which I narrowly escaped. The first, I suppose one would call it, a room, is filled with poisonous gas. The maze, which seems to appear and disappear as you walk, whether it changes as it disappears, I do not know. Thank the divines, I know healing spells. The second room was even more horrendous, though. I was literally littered with the less fortunate scared into the stone floor by some kind of spell with a single word, run. I took its advice and am glad that I did. I glanced down at my ascent and found a boiling green acid chasing up after me. I think whatever adventurer before me who had carved the word thankfully by sprinting whatever I could and was able to outpace the tide. The third room seemed beginning at first, save for the telltale skeleton, where I noticed the pressure plate, very deadly pressure plate, and beyond them a set of flamethrowers, inactive, but I had no doubt that given the operability of the rest, they could become active at the wrong move as made. Fortunately, the skeleton was formerly a scholar of the Dwemer, and had left his notes rather bloodstained. It was tempted to keep it, but bloodstains aren't quite my things. I decided to take note of his sources and find myself later. Still, it provided me enough information to make it pass. The fourth room was terrible. Immediately upon entry, I felt a draining force upon my person, and all the energy was sapped from me like water squeezing from a sponge. I couldn't even cast the smallest of spells. The crystals and bottoms caused a central pillar to rise out of the pool of acid. Pillars about the room shot fireballs far too close to my comfort. Dodging them was a chore, but aside from this, burning off variation sections of my robe, I survived. When I managed to hit all of the buttons, a central core appeared with a shield around it. It was also then, though, that somehow the magical polarity of the field sapping my power energy was reversed, and suddenly I found my disposal seemed to be never-ending supply. The core sent out periodic pulses of energy, and unless I was within the shield, all of my attacks were useless. After several pulses, the object exploded in my face and threw me against a metal gate. That was when I had the stringency to discover that the ring could carry me out of the dungeon, and not just in. I almost lost the ring and grabbed for it and accidentally slipped off in the process. It would have been nice to know earlier. I can only imagine the fourth challenge was to destroy that thing. I think I shall forego that challenge. The entire structure seemed older. Perhaps it was a preliminary model of the technology used on the Tesseract, or possibly just not as well made. It makes me wonder if places such as this were reasons for the Dremel disappeared. Certainly a race capable of such feats as traveling to planes whose suddenly vanished would not have suffered so insulting a fate as an accidental mass suicide with no traces left. I've been writing for far too long and I'm exhausted. I'm going to sleep now. I am now almost certain that that strange and deadly construct I found was a game or a testing ground of some kind for the drummer. I had the time to translate a single line of the discovered of the fourth room while catching my breath. It reads, "Please note that we have added a consequence for failure. Any contact with the chamber floor will result in an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record, followed by death." I feel like GLaDOS made this. That sounds very similar to something she would say. GLaDOS from Portals. And that's the last page in Peleus' journal. So this is the prophecy of the box. As foretold by the Elder Scrolls, the blue box shall fall from the sky. The prophecy of the box dictates that a drummer structure north of the lunar forge called adversary shall guard the box from those unworthy. Order of the hammer. And then it lists text that I cannot quite read. So that's kind of the background knowledge on the two mods that we're going to be looking at first and foremost. And I kind of can't wait to explain and go through them. I believe I'll be using the I'll be using the Tesseract as kind of my first home. And then I may switch to the TARDIS, I may not. I may also just use the TARDIS as like a random traveling gate. So now we get to either skip the dungeon, do normal or hard difficulty. I may go back and do the normal difficulties. For now, though, we are just going to skip the dungeon if we are able to. But unfortunately, we are getting very close to the wrapping up point, so I am sorry. But at least you got your lore for these two mods, so remember to rate, comment, subscribe, do whatever you feel like is great, and welcome to the Tesseract.